advised, and when the town clerk, after giving advice tonight, is also taking the minutes. So, in the event of a recorded vote, will people please put their hands up quickly and hold them up and keep them up until she is taking the names. Thank you. Moving on. Item 1, apologies.
Tonight we've received apologies from Councillor John Purline, Councillor John Marr, Councillor Paul Nelson, Councillor Andrew Smith and Councillor and Mrs Diane Thompson. Also Councillor Kevin Thompson Jr.
Thank you. Item 2, declaration of interest.
We've had none received.
Quickly on. Item 3, public questions.
Again, we've had none received.
Right, I was going to put item 5 before item 4, but as we haven't got a police report, that's going to be unnecessary. So we'll just go straight to item 4.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to request a recorded vote on this motion, please, and also I'd like to speak last on the motion. One other thing, please note I omitted the word major from my original motion. So, in line with section 5, subsection 10, item K, I wish to amend the motion accordingly by adding back in the word major.
Sorry,
Where is it?
Where would that be? Sorry.
The third sentence of the motion, the building of major additional. I omitted the word major. So the third sentence should read the building of major additional new private homes.
Thank you.
So really a typo in the original motion.
It's my omission. Right, the motion, from this date forward until further notice, any new planning authority submissions received from Durham County Council for the building of major additional new private homes in Spennymoor automatically generate a strong letter of objection from this council. As elected town council, it's our moral duty to protect the social well-being of the existing residents of Spennymoor. We should not wait to see if Durham County Council Planning Department is going to turn down yet another new homes application before submitting an objection. Spennymoor is saturated with new homes, but devoid of the necessary complementary social infrastructure. Thank you, Chair.
I second it, Chair, and reserve the right to speak.
Councillor Foster.
Spennymoor is recognised as the main town within the emerging county Durham plan. We'll continue to generate interest in terms of new housing, employment and retail development. New development will inevitably have implications on existing physical and social infrastructure, and these will need to be taken into account by the town council. In terms of the suggestion that the town has insufficient social infrastructure, I would like to make the following response. In terms of education, there are sufficient places for people within the planning area to spend money. The county council has a statutory duty to ensure that there are sufficient places across the county, and this position will be taken under review on an annual basis. In recent years, a number of additional places have been created, and this will continue to be the case. As part of the evidence for the emerging county Durham plan, the council have been working with the NHS to identify future deficiencies and to influence investment decisions to ensure that an effective health care service remains. Spennymoor has never been identified as a location where GP surgeries are at capacity, and in actual fact all 3 surgeries are all accepting new patients. The council tax data has been examined to determine the number of long-term empty homes that are settlements within the Spennymoor Town Council area. Nationally, empty homes are considered to be long-term empty homes once they have been empty for 6 months or more. This is because there's always a natural churn in housing market, and there is a need for some vacant properties to enable movement of households. From the council tax data, there are a total of 236 empty dwellings in the Spennymoor Town Council area that have been empty for more than 6 months. Of these, 61 have been empty for more than 2 years. It is worth noting at this point that of the 236 empty properties, 64 belong to registered providers, 56 of those have been empty for over 6 months, and 8 empty for over 2 years. The Office of National Statistics, Neighbourhood Statistics, states that Spennymoor Parish had some 9,145 dwellings in 2011. The 236 empty properties equate to some 2.58 of the total dwelling stock, which is considered to be within the acceptable range and confirms that Spennymoor does not have a problem in terms of empty properties. The national policy requires the counties to retain a 5 years deliverable supply of new homes across the housing market area, which is at the county level. The Home Builders Federation recognises that Spennymoor is a strong area in terms of consumer demand. The plan approach identified in the local plan provides for a strong basis in which house building can be regulated without developers. This will be taken as developed will be a significantly higher level. Private rental accommodation is an important tenant in the housing market, providing housing including professionals' need for accommodation, targeted employment, young and mobile groups, an alternative to social renting, for example. The Council acknowledges that as in all tenants, there is a range of quality in this product and will continue to work to improve across the board. Northumbrian Water Limited is investing some £4.1 million to upgrade the sewage treatment works into the mill. Construction is to be commenced early in the summer, will be completed by the end of 2016. Northumbrian Water Limited has assessed the potential house delivery and is able to accept the foul water flows up to and including this investment period. All planning proposals are subject to assessment of transport impacts to determine if it has a detrimental effect and could result in what, if any, mitigation could be required to deal with increased traffic. New traffic generation has been considered annual at the Car Street area roundabout, and that an improved scheme is processed to address the classic exclusion, which in turn will reduce queuing and delay. This scheme is to be funded by the Whitworth Park developers. Improvements are also to be made at Rosedale and Studley Terrace conditions to address the classic issues. I therefore suggest that in order to ensure that the future vibrancy and enhance the sustainable investment opportunities within the town, the Town Council continues to make its views on planning applications on a site-by-site basis. Where the Town Council remains concerned regarding the proposal's impact on the town's infrastructure or indeed any other material consideration, then they should be raised on a site-by-site basis. Having regard to all the accompanying information submitted alongside the planning application, responding on a site-by-site basis will ensure that the sustainable future of the town can be realised without dismissing proposals without due and proper consideration by the Town Council. I must add one further thing. It is surprising that the seconder of today's motion has gone through proper planning training and knows perfectly well that every planning application must be considered on a site-by-site application basis, and any blanket would give an opportunity for any developer to object on it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mason.
Just for formal clarification, could I ask Councillor Foster if the statistics is quoted pertaining to what is in existence at the moment, and have these actually considered any potential extra housing that may come in the future from, as an example, if it was to happen, the Durham Road sites up at Middleston Moor and various other ones. So is his statistics based on the position as it is now, or has he put some projection in the future for future household?
We don't wish to, obviously, the facts as they are relevant to when we come homes, etc., obviously relevant as aware of 2011, they're the latest statistics. The current government plan obviously is projection for the next 15, 20 years in front. So those projections do take into account delivery. And part of the whole point of having a county government plan is to look at Northumbrian Water, to look at the health service, look at the other utilities to say, this is the journey we're going on in the next 15, 20 years. This is how we expect it to go. This is how we expect you to go with it. So So it is an encouragement towards organisations to do.
Thanks very much. I know when those applications were rejected, the reports we had, yes, all this information and what was required from developers to push them forward.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate Councillor Foster's comments and the data he's gone into with regards to the county development plan and the infrastructure, the works that are done towards the infrastructure to do with new house building. I think I agree with what Councillor Dax has stated in with regard to we need to look at the infrastructure when new houses are built. We need to ensure that we've got doctors' places and all of the things that Councillor Dax has mentioned in his preamble. But I think what we've got in the county development plan is those things being addressed. What we need to provide from the town council is that strong consultation that we need to bring these applications in from the county council. We need to be able to consider them in this chamber, hear from the views of ward members. And I really feel that I can't support Councillor Dax's motion today because of the thing about the automatic objection. We need to bring these applications in and we need time to consider them. And whether we object to them should be a decision to be made in this chamber as and when. I don't think we should rule them all out just because of an automatic objection. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor.
Thank you very much, Chair. As many people know, I came to this town in 1979. My wife and I bought a house on a greenfield site and a major development was taking place at that time, and it ceased some 20 years later when the space that was allocated was used up. Later on I moved on to a larger house as family grew and developed, and I'm going to be quite honest and say that I'm more than happy to have stayed in this town and been in this town since 1979. I count myself as a Sperrymoor lad. In fact, somebody actually called me that not so long since. What I find a little bit difficult to understand is that the proposer and the seconder of this motion, which I think is unheard of in terms of my experience of local government, both live in houses that were built on greenfield sites some 35, 40 years ago. So it's obviously all right for them, but not for anybody else. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on that? I agree.
The October 2013 Durham County Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment said the southern area of the county, which includes Spennymoor, was 30%, 3,000 houses, over housing requirements. In central Durham, the situation reflects the other side of the coin, where there's a 3,000 deficit. The county can just show a 5-year supply of developments, but it is patchy. At the settlement level, Spennymoor has a significant oversupply, while Chelsea Street has an undersupply. The Durham County plan currently being assessed by the government does not recommend further builds in Spennymoor. We must push the county to try and even out the distribution of developments being brought forward. And to do this, Spennymoor Town Council can play its part. I second the motion.
Anyone else want to speak?
Chairman? Yes, Chairman, yes. Well, I don't accept the motion because it's mandating the council to do something before any future development is applied for, and that's against planning law. It's unlawful. Now, the person whose signature will go on the letter from the town council, in I dare say all cases, would be the town clerk, and the town clerk certainly wouldn't put her signature to a blanket refusal because of the solicitor's certificate. She would lose it because it's breaking the law. It's as simple as that. So, Chairman, I would like to move that we have a name vote.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor would like to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. If I can just come in on this. What I would say is we probably may not be as strongly expressed as the terms that Councillor Graham's used, but I think that you've got to sort of put this into context. We are not the planning authority. We are not even a statutory consultee. We are consulted on planning matters because we have asked the County Council to allow us to be consulted on planning matters. Whilst I, like Councillor Geldart, appreciate where Councillor Darks is coming from on this, the concern that I have, and I throw this to you in the chamber, is that we have got to be very careful about fettering our discretion as a public body, a local council. As a local council, we could face challenge by way of judicial review if we fetter our discretion by having a blanket ban on any kind of housing development within the town. I appreciate that Councillor Darts has very eloquently extended the terms of his motion to cover only major developments, but with definitions like that, it's often hard to interpret what you mean by major. And I think that whilst essentially it's for the members in this chamber to determine, I would counsel caution on an absolute ban in terms of refusing all major applications for new homes, because what we could find is that if our objection is taken so seriously on board by the planning authority that some developer feels aggrieved and that our objection has had the weight to influence the planning authority, they may come back and ask for judicial review of our decision on the basis that we've fettered our discretion by not considering each planning application on its own merits. The problem you have is, if you refer back to the spelling where you said we did document and the research that we did, what people were saying to us was that there's been too much private housing development in the town, but there's a need for affordable social housing. So all I would say is it's always a matter of opinion, but I would urge caution in an absolute blanket ban on major development. No disrespect to you, Councillor Darts, I know exactly where you're coming from, and I think that in all truth, the majority of the residents in the town have a concern about new development, but I would hate to think that a blanket ban like that would potentially put us as a local council at risk of judicial review, because these developers have a lot of money to spend, and I'm sure that you're all aware of principal councils not too far away from here that have fallen foul of developers with lots of money. And if the county council determine an application and place credence on our blanket objection, we might ourselves fall foul to judicial review on the basis of an absolute blanket ban. So my advice, for what it is worth, is that each application should really always be considered entirely on its own merits.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Right. No one else wants to speak. Just give me a moment. I'm not afraid we will be acting, this council will be acting in a cavalier fashion if we were to adopt this course of action. That's as much as I'll consider on the motion. Councillor Darts, would you like to give a final expenditure?
Thank you, Town Clerk, for bringing me up to date with the judicial side. I'm well aware that we're not the planning authority and that we have what to say on the matter as well. Councillor Geldart, thank you for your comments as well. Councillor Harrington, the estate I live on was started 40 years ago, so I think we're up for some new development after 40 years. I urge all councils to support this motion and instill within the County Council Planning Committee the lack of any capital expenditure on infrastructure and spend more, commensurate with the volume of new homes. I hear Councillor Foster with his figures, etc. All I know is we've been actually building the new houses for 5 years. We're still talking about preparing the infrastructure, and we're doing this, we're doing the other. It's a pity you can't come at the same time as the houses. As a town council, we must support the best interests of the existing residents. And apart from the town clerk, she's the only person who has mentioned the effect on the existing residents of this town. We are an elected town council who have a moral duty to protect their social infrastructure.
No, we don't.
Would you like to speak to the chair, Councillor Hamilton?
No, carry on, sir. Carry on.
May I carry on then? You're not speaking any further.
I'll speak if I need to speak.
Through the chair you will, sir, yes. We need to be more proactive with regard to social issues which affect our town in general. I'm sure that we do care for the residents of this town. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, finally come to the vote on this motion. All in favour, please show.
Chair, yes, the name vote, I ask for an amendment to a name vote rather than a recorded vote.
Second that.
Chair, can you please clarify what I couldn't hear?
Councillor Darts.
No,
Change.
what was said by another member?
A name vote?
Named vote was against the recorded vote. It's the same thing, isn't it?
No.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No. A name vote is just a show of hands. No, sorry, a recorded vote is just a show of hands. A name vote is named. Yeah.
So, we need to vote on the amendment for that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So, the
Have we got an
amendment is...
amendment? I didn't hear an amendment. Have we got one?
No, we need to amend.
Chairman, point of order, please.
Yes.
The motion, there's only one single motion from Councillor Darts. It's been moved that we have a recorded name vote, so I suggest that we just take the vote for the motion and that the town clerk records the names of the voters.
Yeah.
Second that.
Fine. Yeah.
But she have asked for that at the very beginning, like Councillor Dark. If it is not an amendment, I was just going to say, if it was an amendment, we could have spoken again. But I'm not sure.
We currently
Sure, that's
standing
the-
orders, we can just carry on as we will.
I think if I can try and give some clarity to this, the standing order that we're talking about is on page 6 of your standing orders. It's standing order 6 and it relates to voting. And ordinarily, members shall vote by a show of hands, or if the majority of members present so request, by a signed ballot. At the request of the councillor, which we've had, the voting on any question shall be recorded so as to show whether each councillor present in voting gave his vote for or against that question. Such a request shall be made before the matter is put to the vote. I think that's happened because we haven't taken a vote yet. So it's my intention to follow the requirements of the standing order 6.2, and when you do come to the vote, I will record those who vote in favour of Councillor Dark's motion first, those against, and then we'll deal with whatever happens in relation to any amendments. Have we had an amendment? There's been no amendment. Okay.
Right, so the motion to a vote. All in favour of the motion, please show.
If you can put your hands straight up and give me time, please. So this is all in favour of Councillor Dark's motion.
Sorry, Chair, when you say that, was people speaking.
Sorry?
You said something, but I never heard what you
I
said.
said, we're asking here for you to put your hands straight up in the air for all those in favour of Councillor Dark's motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All against the motion, please show. abstentions? Excellent. Right. Item 5, which we've already dealt with. Moving on. Item 6, planning application. 6A, application received for the
Move to say, Chairman.
Second that.
planning application. 6B, delegated decisions.
Move to say, Chairman.
Second that.
Item 7, temporary road closure, 688, Kenmore bypass. Members requesting no contents of the letter, 27 January, from the Durham County Council. I'm pleased to say that none have been burned down the house for this, so I'm pleased to say this is what take place. We all have a little bit of inconvenience to the staff organisation.
Move to say, Chairman.
Thank you.
Second that.
Neighbourhood Protection Team, members are requested to consider their reports.
Move to say, Chairman.
Second that.
Thank you. No further business.